Welcome again to the series of videos where we're going to be explaining multiple different things in the real estate industry, real estate transaction. Today we're going to be talking about escrow. And I have none other than my my aunt, Rebeca Zavala. She is the escrow officer for San Fernando Realty Escrow Division. So introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Rebeca Zavala, and I am the escrow officer here at San Fernando Realty. We are an in-house escrow, which means we're licensed by the Department of Real Estate. I have been an escrow for a little over 20 years, and I have been an escrow officer for about 16 years. And I love what I do. It comes with its challenges, which is great. I love a challenge. So let's see what we have in store for today.
There we go. So I think the main question right now is going to be what does the word escrow mean? Is escrow a process? Is it an entity, a company? Like, what is it? You know, you hear the word escrow thrown around, yet it's kind of hard to describe, I think. So I think let's describe it in the different ways you can so that our viewers here can understand.
So escrow is a legal agreement where funds are used to purchase an asset or funds are being held. So it's used in different aspects in real estate. Sometimes if you own a home, and your taxes are included in your home, then it's held in an escrow account. Again, that has to do with money. And then when you purchase a home or sell a home, all the funds are being held in an escrow trust account. So that's where we come into play. We are the kind of the middle guy, the neutral third party, where the purchase or the asset is on one end and the funds, the money, is on another end. And we make sure that the two cross. And it's all done according to what was agreed upon on the contract. Everything from A to Z, we handle that process, and we make sure that this doesn't go into to this side until this comes to this side. So it's a simultaneous process. So in essence, as it comes to in terms of real estate, it's a process. It's a legal agreement. We are hired to handle the process of the purchase or the sale of a home.
Interesting. So in essence, you get the buyer's money, the seller's title, and you swap them. That's your job.
Yes. It's not 2 seconds, though. It's about 45 days. But yes, that's exactly what we do.
That was actually one of my other questions. What is a typical escrow? How long does it take?
So all of that is part of the contract. Every purchase contract is different. All the terms are negotiated between buyer and seller by way of their agents. So if what was agreed upon was a 30-day transaction, then we have 30 days to make it happen. If we have 45 days, we can even have transactions that last 5 days. So that's really, really kind of negotiable. So it depends what the contract says. And it's our job to follow the contract. So, you know, there are times that, let's say the buyer is ready to go. They have their loan approved. You know, their loan documents are in escrow. But guess what? The seller's not ready. They haven't moved out. They still have another 2 weeks to close escrow. So our job is to say, wait a minute, we're not ready to close yet. Legally, through the agreement that was signed, we have until, you know, December 20th to close escrow. So you need to put a hold on your loan and let's let the seller have time. Or again, that can be renegotiated again. Maybe the seller says, you know what, I won't close the 20th, I can close the 10th. So all of that, again, can be something that changes throughout the transaction depending on the type of transaction it is.
So what I'm getting from what you just said is you cannot move forward if both parties are not on board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The principals, or my clients in essence, are the buyer and the seller. So if the seller says, I'm not ready to close, and the buyer says yes, then I'm going to say, we're going to pause for a minute. Vice versa. If the seller says, I'm ready to close, I need my money, I need to move, and the buyer says, well, I'm not ready because my loan isn't ready, because there's appraisal issues, because of there's repairs that need to be done, then again, I'm on hold. They tell me what to do. I receive instruction from them as the principals of the transaction.
Okay, and who hires you as an escrow company? Is it the buyer? Is it the seller?
So typically, kind of standard is the seller or seller's choice. They add it either to the counteroffer, or sometimes on the purchase agreement, it says seller's choice. So the listing agent usually has a history or relationship with different escrow companies, of experiences they've had. So they hire us to be the escrow company. But again, all of that is negotiable. So maybe the buyer says, I want to use my escrow company because I've purchased multiple properties and I like, Rebecca, and she's helped me in all my transactions. Or sometimes the seller says, no, I need to use Rebecca because I've had the experience with her. I, have done everything and I trust her. She has all my paperwork, etc. So all of that is negotiable. Kind of real estate standard is the seller. But again, that can be negotiated at any time.
Got it. I think it also has to do a lot of what kind of market we're in, right? If we're in a very heavy sellers market, the majority of the time they choose everything, right?
Yes, yeah.
If we're in a heavy buyers
typical.
market, sometimes buyers are able to choose their services based on, hey, I really enjoy the process with Rebecca and the girls upstairs. Like that all depends on the kind of market I think that we're in, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, next, these are not so much of escrow particularly, but of items that throughout the escrow we're going to see. So, for example, somebody is asked to fill out what's called a statement of information. What is that, and why do you need that?
Okay, so a statement of information is a very important document, and it actually is a requirement of the title company. So the title company, their job is to insure the title. So that means that they need to make sure that the seller's name is cleared by the general index, which means that, let's say your name is Jose Rodriguez. There's a lot of Jose Rodriguez. So the statement of information is a document that has all the details about you, your date of birth, social security number, driver's license, etc. And they do that because they narrow down your name to make sure that you have no liens against you. Why? Because if there's anything against you, your name may be an old credit card or car accident, that lien will need to be cleared in order for the title company to say, hey, this guy's clean, there's no issues when title goes from the seller to the buyer. So we need that information. We're not going to do anything else with it. It's all of our documents are sealed with a lock and key. Everything gets sent through, secure, ways through the email to the title company. So everything is secure, and we shred all of our documents once we don't need it. But the statement of information is needed by the seller and by the buyer, because guess what? The lender will also need to make sure the buyer's name is clear. What if something doesn't come up on the credit report? There's a tax lien or something lingering that's going to, be an issue at the time of, funding the loan. Things come up. So that is a requirement of the title company to ensure that they can deliver clear title to the buyer, and to ensure to the lender we can insure your loan because the buyer's name is clean as well.
So you mean to tell me that it's not only anything that is recorded at the county assessors, there's also liens and judgments that are attached. Let's say if I was selling a property that are attached to my name, that would affect the sale of my property?
Yes, absolutely. So be careful. Please be honest with your agents of anything that may come up. That's a tip for you.
Be honest, please.
Yes,
Let us know in advance.
Again, an old credit card bill, an accident, you have tax liens against you thinking that was 10 years ago. What that index search does, since it goes based on your social security number, if the IRS, Franchise Tax Board, has anything against you, it's linked to your social. Okay?
Back taxes, all that stuff.
Yes, all of that stuff. Any old credit cards, you co-sign for somebody, all of that will come up. And that can put a pause in the transaction. And that may cause issues because the seller's thinking he's getting this amount of money. But guess what? We got liens we got to clear. We got to pay this off. We got to call the credit company. We got to call the IRS. We got to do what we have to do, because that's our job as escrow, is to make sure that we deliver clean title to the buyer. So we need to do our job and do our due diligence in clearing both buyer and seller names. So that's a requirement that sometimes you may not feel comfortable about it, but that's our job as escrow. We do everything in a confidential and a proper way to make sure that everything gets done according to the title company's requirements.
I think the one thing I'd tell sellers too is, because some sellers, well, why do you need that? That has nothing to do with the property, things like that. Is, look, if you're buying a property, you're going to want that title insurance, because you're not going to buy a property without title insurance. And the only way that they're going to ensure that is if you fill out that statement of information. And they run your numbers, make sure, okay, yeah, they're good. They don't have anything attached to their name that's going to eventually touch the property, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I know you talked about it earlier, but if I asked you, whose side are you on, the buyer or the seller?
I am on nobody's side. I am a neutral third party, so I don't choose. My job is to follow the contract. My job is to make sure that everyone is in agreement. And I'm not for the listing agent. I'm not for the buyer's agent. I'm not for the buyer only or vice versa. I am a neutral third party. And everything that gets asked of me or of my company is done in writing. I would like to get a credit because we agreed upon this. I want to cancel the transaction. Cancellation is a very touchy subject because once the buyer says, I don't want the house, they want their deposit back. But that's not the way it works, because the same way you opened an agreement, you opened an escrow, is the same way you need to cancel it. And what is that? By having a unilateral agreement. So both of you signed the purchase contract to open the transaction. Both of you must sign to cancel the transaction. So that's something that I want to make very clear. If the unfortunate incident happens, you got to cancel. Something happened with the buyer's job. Maybe the home inspection didn't go well. Make sure that you are aware that we will need cancellation instructions in writing by both parties. Mm-hmm.
Got it. And I think that's a very important point, because sometimes, especially since you are what is the DRE escrow, right?
Correct.
People might think you're on the seller side when the seller or us
Right.
as listing agents choose you, but that's not the case. Legally, you are a neutral third party.
Absolutely.
Okay. Beautiful. Now, tell me, what is one of the most challenging situations that you've faced throughout your career? You know, you said you've been in this for 20 years now. So give me something that you were like, man, this was challenging, but we got through it.
So there's been quite a few. Not gonna lie, we've had our share of challenges that, along with the broker, with my title rep, with my title officer. The challenge usually always has to do with title. So you're probably wondering, like, why title? Because things happen over here on the seller side that the buyer has no control over. Again, as I mentioned, skeletons in the closet. A property was quick claimed from my brother to my sister, from my sister to my parents, and then to me. All these transactions have an issue because the title company's job is to make sure that everything was done in a legal manner. None of it was fraud. Before they tell the buyer, okay, you have a good title. The house is yours. There's no issues. Nobody's going to come knocking on your door and say, guess what? That house belonged to me. I never signed that quick claim. So I want to say, in general, that's a challenge, is ensuring clear title to the buyer. But my actual challenge in that area probably has to be when I can't find somebody. So let's say there was a co-signer, somebody helped an old friend, a compadre, somebody helped him purchase a home, and he no longer lives in the area. They're not in touch anymore. They're gone. So it's finding him, looking for him. That's.
They live in Mexico now. We don't know.
Yeah. So we got to find him, get some paperwork signed. Another thing is loans. Again, this all has to do with the seller side. Is when we have a payoff demand and it was paid off 10 years ago. That bank.
There's no reconveyance.
There's no reconveyance. They bankrupt. They're long gone. And the title company is saying, well, you still owe them $30,000. And your seller's like, no, I paid it off. That's a big challenge too.
But there's no proof.
Exactly. There's no proof. So now the seller, is wondering what's going to happen. I don't want to sell my house if that lien is still on there. But again, that's our job as escrow. So we start looking, digging, Googling, figuring out.
A
personal investigator, yes. Facebook, social media. We're trying to find out who's who, what happened to that company. It got resold. And the title company is very key in all of this because they also have access to different records and phone numbers of lenders. So that can definitely pose a challenge on the transaction.
Okay. And you brought up a good point earlier. You said when you add somebody to title, you take them off. You added somebody else, you take them off. You added somebody else, you add another son, you take them off. Do you have to have SIs for all those people? Or
yes.
What happens?
Yes, you do.
So it's important. Make sure that you talk to us before you make any of those crazy decisions to just add somebody or remove somebody, because you said you might get that document signed right now, but you're going to probably need them again, right?
For sure. you're going to need them again when you sell the home, and you're going to need title insurance, because the title company wants to make sure that all of those names are cleared. The same way they're going to give this buyer that your name is cleared, if there's a history there and there's been transactions or transfers of title, it's what we call uninsured, which means that a title company did not insure your children coming on to title or a co-signer coming off. These are just something you go to an attorney, a paralegal, documents people, data us or something, and they prepare it for you, which is fine. They can totally do that. They can prepare it for you. You go to Van Nuys, Lancaster, Norwalk, you get it recorded. Again, that's all fine. But the minute you want to sell the home, you need to give all that explanation to the title company. They're not the bad guys. On the contrary, they're there to protect you. They're there to protect the seller, to make sure none of those people come saying, oh, do you remember that really wasn't me who signed it? I didn't agree to that. You were supposed to give me money. You were, all these things come up. So it's there really to protect the seller, because if something happens, that buyer can sue you, the title company, the agents, and that's not what you want. You want to have an insured, legal, correct insurance policy that covers the title, so that the buyers have no issues and you have no problems in the future.
Makes sense. Is there anything else that you're like, hey, a lot of people ask me about this in escrow, a lot of people ask me about that you might want to let the viewers know?
Maybe for the buyers, and that has to do with supplemental taxes. So supplementals is something that nobody really talks about, but I make sure when you sign loan docs with me and I explain to you if your payment is impounded, meaning your taxes and insurance are included in your payment, that does not include supplemental taxes. So supplementals, it's a one-time tax that the LA County, Ventura County, Kern County, wherever you purchase your property, they're going to reassess the property, and they're going to give you, the homeowner, that tax bill for the remaining fiscal year of the property taxes. And it's the difference of what the seller paid to what the buyer is going to pay. So let's say the LA County has a property evaluated at $300,000. Your taxes are, $4,000 a year. But now you're selling at $700,000. That gap, that increase in value, immediately gets reassessed. That bill gets mailed to the buyer for 6 months after the close of escrow, and they got to pay it. It's not part of your impound account. Don't think the lender's going to pay it, because they have a hefty penalty fee. It's 10%, which is a lot. You can be paying a $200 late fee, and that's not fair. So buyers, be on the lookout for that. Reach out to your escrow company. You can reach out to me, even if I did not process your escrow. I have an open door policy. I'm always here to help any clients, because purchasing a home can be scary and you get overwhelmed with paperwork that you received, but that's definitely something to be on the lookout for.
Got it. I think we covered most of it, really. I think that now people have a more general understanding of what is an escrow, what is the process of escrow, what happens when you open escrow, and that basically escrow is that neutral third party that's just following the instructions or the already made agreement between the buyer and the seller.
Right. That's exactly it. And we're the middle person, and we work with the agents, the lender, the title company, buyer, and seller. So we're in the middle of everything. So your lender is reaching out to us and saying, I need this from you. I need a title report. I need to know how are the buyers taking title. The listing agent says, I need a copy of this. The buyer's agent says, I need a copy of that. There's new credits, that were negotiated in the middle of the transaction. My job is to make sure that everything that's constantly changing throughout the transaction gets done and gets applied the proper way. Work with the title company, make sure we issue clear title to the buyers, to the seller, that all their loans are paid off, all the liens are cleared on the title report. So it's not just, we're just sitting here waiting for you to tell us what to do. It's a constant. Every day we're doing something on your file. Maybe you're not seeing it. Maybe the buyer and the seller are saying, I don't know what's going on. But we're working. We're working with your agents, the title company, your lender, and we're trying to get everything forward to that deadline of, December 1st or whenever our close of escrow is. And that's our job, is to say, we got to hurry up and do this. You may hear from us as well as it pertains to escrow instructions. So escrow instructions is a set of paperwork that you will receive from the escrow company once escrow is opened. Escrow is opened when you sign the purchase agreement. You're going back and forth on counter offers, etc. As of that date, let's say it's today, You finally agree. Today is day one of escrow. That is day one. The clock starts ticking for you to work with your lender, get your loan approved, and get the transaction closed. That's when we come in. We grab the purchase contract. We're going to start working on everything, ordering reports, ordering the title company, asking you as the buyer for the deposit, showing the seller, hey, guess what? The deposit is in. The buyer is working. He's giving us everything that we need. So you're going to hear from us as well throughout the transaction. You might hear from us if we call you. You may want to call us for any questions, and all of that is okay. So it's an ongoing process, and every day we are working on our files. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Awesome. No, and I thank you. Obviously, I know you guys are busy up there, and but I think that this was very informative for anybody that watching it. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to send them to me. If you have more questions for Rebecca, let me know, and we could do another video, and a little short video, kind of explaining anything else that you're like, hey, I wonder what this is, and I would want this better explained, and would be more than happy to do that. So thank you again, and
You're welcome.
talk to you guys soon.
Bye.